3 kids, 1 tiny home. I know what you're thinking. We're crazy. Here's a few strategies we have to stay sane in a tiny home. First off, it's mindset. It's not about living without, it's about having enough. And I think that was one of the first things we really had to tackle was the intentionality of our mindset going into it. Secondly, a tiny home is high value real estate. Now, what I mean by that is that every item has to earn its space. It has to be worth it. There's not a lot of supply for space, and there's a high demand of items for that space, especially with 3 young children. So each item has to be worth its square inches. For example, for me, I really value holistic healing, herbal remedies, things like that. So I'm going to make some extra space for that. We're homeschooling, so we make extra space for that. You know, if you're an artist or a creative person, you may want to set aside some space for that, and you may not have something that someone else might value. It's not about perfection. Things are always in flux. I mean, you have new things coming in, you have things going out. It's constant. I don't feel like I ever reached the state of like, okay, the house is exactly where I want it. I feel like I'm realizing all the time, okay, this works better here, this doesn't. And it even governs my shopping too. If I'm out and I see a cool pair of shoes, I'm like, do I really want to sacrifice that much space in the tiny home for those shoes? Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's like, no. A third strategy is being smart with your storage. Using a lot of cabinets, hooks, things to hang on. Vertical storage is really your best friend here. Or multi-purpose furniture. We have this cool couch that turns into a bed. Our bed lifts up on hydraulics to store our clothes and things like that underneath it. We have a bench that has storage in it. Just making use of, like we already covered, every square inch. I like to keep things labeled, make sure everything has a specific spot so that it's not kind of just migrating all around. We have clearly labeled bins and spaces where things belong. That's really been helpful. One thing that has been really helpful, for example, is instead of keeping a lot of books around, I just try to use my Kindle or even my phone with a library app. And that keeps down a lot of clutter for sure, as somebody who loves to read. Another thing that we've started doing and incorporated into our habits that's been really helpful is scanning digital copies of mail, receipts, bills, files, anything that comes in that is paper clutter and important. We are trying to make sure we're consistent about scanning it with our phones, uploading a digital file to our online file folders, and that's actually really been helpful. Another strategy is creating boundaries around spaces or designated zones, and then that's been an opportunity for teaching our children to respect those boundaries and to respect their things and take good care of them. For example, we have a designated eating area. We try not to go out of that. Now sometimes it's a little loose, but it really helps to keep food all in one space in the home and not kind of getting crumbs and mess everywhere. For example, our bedroom is completely off limits for food. That's just not going to happen. But if we're eating dinner, we may all eat at the couch or we may all eat at the counter, but we don't usually spread all over the whole house. Another thing is with our flexible spaces, for example, the counter, we try not to mix, like if we're cooking food, we're cooking food. If we're doing school, we're doing school. We don't often use it for multiple things at a time, although we can. We just try not to. We try to keep boundaries around our activities in that way. Another thing that's been a game changer and Not right now, buddy. We're right in the middle. He's slowing down our play. That's probably what he's doing. We're just waiting till their voices die off. Another thing that's been a game changer, especially with young children, is scheduling, especially daily routines. Having a morning routine, having an evening routine, even an afternoon routine. Just certain times of the day where we pause and we're like, okay, it's time to do a 10-minute pickup. We're going to tidy, we're going to vacuum, and that just keeps things from getting overwhelming. Makes a lot of difference for me when I wake up in the morning and it's not still a mess from the night before. So having routines around things like laundry, dishes, tidying, and little chores too, like we when the kids take off their pajamas and change their clothes, they fold their pajamas and put them on their pillows. Things like that. It just creates rhythms. It keeps things from becoming overwhelming so there's not just clothes everywhere because it easily can become that, and I'm obviously not perfect. We do have days and times like when we come home from trips where stuff is just everywhere, but one of the best parts about the tiny home, it takes so little time to reset it. One of the strategies that's been really helpful, and even maybe an unexpected benefit of tiny living, is that we focus a lot more on the connection with each other than the clutter. Sometimes even in effort to avoid clutter, we go outside, we go visit friends, we go to the coffee shop, the bookstore, the libraries, the park, and that's just been provided some really fun memories, some really special bonding and family time, and even bonding with friends, with family, and a lot more outside time. And it keeps down the clutter in the tiny home for sure when we're not in it. And when we are enjoying the tiny home, it really helps to keep the mindset of like clutter is temporary, but those memories you're making will last a lifetime. And it takes like 10 minutes to clean. So it's really, really just have to let go a little bit of my ideas of perfection in a home. Yeah, so let's go over the big picture. Some of the things we've learned, some of the ways we've stretched and grown in living in a tiny home. I've seen my kids learn to be more flexible, to share better. They've had a lot of opportunities for problem solving, for conflict management. You know, when you're rubbing shoulders with each other, you are forced to work through conflict. You can't just stay angry and isolate. You have to really work through it. And that's been a blessing to their relationships with each other, our relationships with each other. It's more time enriching one another's lives versus isolating into our own lives. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. You know, there's no quiet spot for mom to hide away, but I'll go take a walk while my husband plays with the kids for a while, or he'll take them out and I'll have the house quiet. And so there are ways to make quiet time and alone time when you need it, because that is important too. And it's provided a lot more opportunity for creative thinking, just problem solving, solutions to clutter, solutions to our laundry routines, and how we view homeschooling, all these things. It's created a lot of opportunities for creative thinking, and then also it's fostered a lot of time playing outside, which is something that I really value and appreciate from my childhood, and I'm happy my kids get to do that too. So yeah, those are 6 or 7 strategies for staying sane in a tiny home.